Good morning. It is 7:22 and we're now on our way to our main site in Italy, aren't we?
Yes, and actually if you're in the UK it's actually 6:22, so it does feel early, but we managed to get away really swiftly this morning. We were well organised.
I think the reason being is we saw signs. We went to Chamonix yesterday and we were seeing signs saying delay at tunnel, or queue really, I suppose, for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I thought, set off early and just see if we can get...
Hopefully not be delayed 3 hours. But I mean, no guarantees, are there?
No, there isn't, no. But the earliest you're allowed to leave the site was 7, and we left at 7:09, so, you know.
Okay, here's the dilemma then. So, if there is no queue, then we should be taking just a little bit over an hour and a quarter or so, to be able to drive all the way to the entrance of the tunnel. If, however, there is a 3-hour delay as well, then it could take 4 hours. Now, on top of that, I'm going uphill all the way with caravan on the back, and therefore the miles per gallon won't be particularly fantastic, even though it's a hybrid car, but makes no difference. 4 hours, if it is that long, I very much doubt I'll have enough fuel for that anyway, and so I think it would be fairly prudent of me to fill up before we go. And it's not long before we hit the first toll. This one's the last one on the flat ground, if you like. It now knows that Mont Blanc is your destination.
I think this is it now, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's a slow bit though.
And just to compound things a little bit more, they have closed one of the lanes. So we have an issue with cones, which will then develop into proper roadwork later on. But you also notice that there are some great big wind deflectors on each side, so they obviously have a big problem with wind. Not that we have that today, but they do. And here we go, the cones get replaced with a proper concrete barrier, so this is obviously in for a while. And here comes our first sign, but there's nothing on it apart from the clock, which is good. Now, this is where the views become fantastic, not just the mountain ranges, but the roads. I mean, some sort of feat of engineering this. Now you do need to be careful here. I've left the dash cam information on the screen. Watch my miles per hour. That vehicle in front of me is going really slow, so I need to be careful not to run into the back of it, but at the same time making sure I got enough room to be able to pull out to overtake it. Now we're just coming up to the junction where we went off yesterday to Chamonix, and here comes that sign, which hopefully will say something better than it did yesterday.
Traffic's moving.
Cool. No queue.
Brucey. Worth getting up early then. Now also when you get nearer the top, you get odd bits of road like this, where the outside lane, as you can see that blue car, he will actually rejoin us in a second, so we go off and down and then back up. There is a roundabout to negotiate, but then they come back on again. Now for this bit I'm going to leave the rear camera view on. Now we are at the top, well, the last mile, and you will see that this road is incredibly twisty, incredibly bendy, incredibly steep, and you have to keep your wits about you. Now also what we've experienced so far is 5 lanes into 4 lanes into 3 lanes into 2 lanes. Now we're going into 1 lane. It will split back up in a minute for lorries which have their own lane, but it's not really well signposted, very limited signs as well, so you need to be aware that, as you can see now, that I'm in the actual lane for the lorries, but what I'll do is I'll meet the back of lorries before I then realise, oh no, actually I can pull out because I'm not a HGV, I'm allowed in the outside lane with all the other cars, and that's where I can start my manoeuvres over. Going back to that one lane scenario, unlike all the other tunnels we've come across, which have got at least 2 lanes in it, the Mont Blanc route has only got 1. So everybody does have to squeeze down to the 1 lane. And then you come across signs like this, where, you know, things might tip on you. Let me just speed this bit up, because not a lot happens until that car behind us actually stops and moves over, because he can see the road better than I can. Oh, that's right, it wasn't actually him, it was the white car and all the other cars that are coming up as well. So I'm in the back of the lorry queue, but I have to wait for these guys to go past before I can pull out again. So as you'll be able to see, nose to tail lorries all the way up to the entrance. However, some of the views are quite nice. I mean, that's the melting glacier. And then whilst you're waiting, you get to see the odd helicopter. I mean, you're that far up now, the only way to get things from A to B is by helicopter, and that's what they do. So when it said fluid, that actually doesn't mean you'll be able to drive all the way up and through it straight away. I reckon this took us about another hour anyway, even though it said fluid. Bear that in mind. And as if by magic, going back to the helicopter, there's only 2 of them in there. Now, because that rear camera is live all the time, the ones next to me move in terms of the lorries, and I'm watching what's going on. There's somebody who leaps out, well, maybe not leaps out, but then comes out and stops that white truck, whilst that blue truck on the right side goes behind his mate, who's just whizzed through on the left. So I'm trying to compute this in my head. So he's come from Italy and now he's going back. How odd. And then counterintuitively, they split these 2 lanes back up into 4 in order to keep the flow in the tunnel. Either way, you pay your money and off you go. Now what I will do is I will show you the front facing camera on the way back from Italy into France. Quite frankly, it's a lot more exciting, and you'll understand why you see so many lorries and why they're letting them through so much. And so after, you pay your money and then you wait for the barrier to go up, because that's timed. And then when you go in there, there's a minimum speed limit for the duration of the 11.5 kilometers or 7.2 miles. So it's a long tunnel. And so you emerge. You're now in Italy. I mean, did you notice that halfway through the tunnel there was a change between France and Italy? But there was. Also on this side you'll see service stations and a viewing point, but more on that on the way back. Now drivers, you do need to curb your excitement a little bit here, because you do need to keep your concentration, because you are going downhill quite steeply and, you know, braking distances and so on and so forth. Also you'll find that the road is rather bendy. There are roadworks because you're now not on the French toll roads, which don't have many roadworks, but these have quite a few in Italy. And also there are lots and lots of tunnels that you will go through, and not everybody obeys the speed limits. But you know how it works. What goes up must come down. Okay, this bit does break our rule about trying to keep down to 5 hours, because this is probably nearer 6. So we're starting at top left hand side, as you can see, just passing the tunnel, and then on past Milan through to Lake Garda and up to San Felice del Becano. Now this is our 3rd visit to this site, because it is really good. But anyway, you've got Milan to deal with first. Now the drive down from the mountain to the outside of Milan are really quite fabulous. However, when you get to Milan, first thing you notice is there's a substantial increase in the amount of vans stroke lorries. And believe me, White Van Man has got not a patch on this, Now we also have noticed that we've climbed from one lane all the way through to what you will see 5 lanes a bit later on. Now this bit we knew was coming. This is the first Italian toll and it comes all the way from Mont Blanc. So we were here for a bit because our ticket didn't work and we had to phone somebody who then tried to get somebody in English to be able to understand us, and we told them where we came from, and then we got presented with the €83 bill. The reason why that was that expensive is because we're a twin axle caravan and they charge more. So we have just seen the lanes dip from whatever they were, 5 or 6 lanes down to 2, and we are on the west side of Milan, so it's not that busy yet. Now I'm going to speed this next section up. This is the middle of Milan. As you can see, lots and lots of traffic now, along with some classic Italian driving which you can't know and expect. Thankfully we get to the other side of Milan and we end up at a toll booth, and luckily this one is only a couple of €3, dead cheap. However, when we get out to the other side and get going again, just watch this. How about this for a takeoff mode works? So I'm in the middle lane, the road just splits and then rejoins again. How weird. Anyway, I needed to give my brain a rest and the car needed some more go-go juice. And so after all that, we made it to the bottom of Lake Garda. One more toll, and luckily this one was yet another one which is only a couple of euros. And then to drive up to our site. Looking forward to it now. Now I suppose one thing to note when talking about European sites, as we've now done quite a few of them, is that the pitch sizes are generally not that big. And Lake Garda take that to the next level in so much that more than 50% of this site don't cater for rather large units. For example, they want me to pull in and park up and then reverse back out again. Now obviously the size of my unit and won't be doing that, so I should be parking on the right here just past these signs. Now later on the same day, obviously that motorhome's gone but been replaced with this Dutch caravan. Perhaps he's a day early because that looks like his washing's hanging out as well. But I suppose there is a positive for the site, he does fit in the parking space. And so they did know all about us. Obviously they use APNR on the barriers, so if you want to just log in our details with them and getting our pitch number, and then we're off. But next to me I see this odd fruit. And so once we get past the APNR and the security gate, we're off. Going back to the pitches, there are obviously super pitches which we've ordered here, which will then give us a larger size. Now we've been given one of these pitches on the left, in fact it's right down the end here, but I know that I'm not going to be able to reverse into it because of space issues and all the rest of it. So out come the motor movers. So just to explain, this is the way in. That tree that you could see directly in front in the middle there is where the mains and the water are for the service pitch. So I'm going to have to get the caravan backwards into there in order for the door to be on the right side. And so off she comes from the back of the car and I get ready to do my full 360. And I pull the car forward a bit out of the small gap at the front here, as I got to park it anyway and I need some room for the awning to go up. But anyway, you can see this. And all this whilst they go to the shop and get some nice, really cold ice creams and drinks. And some advice, if next time you're in Aldi or Lidl, pick up one of these covers, especially if you've got leather seats. You'll understand why.
So as you can see, my neighbour's door is on the right side, so you can get in quite easy. But mine, I had to spin it round, unhook it, do a full 360 with it. With the motor movers.
and then pop it in backwards. So the door's on the right side, and then you can see it will just move back out. Park the car there, we'll get it to the back of it, and away we go when the time comes. At this side we have half the awning up, sides up, but not on the back half, it's all nets. So electrics, let's have a look at this. So what I found on these sites is that, I mean, that's our yellow lead coming in here on the left with one of these Euro plugs. Most of them still have them, and in fact the other two sites we've been onto as well also have them. But you can see down the bottom there, some guy's got a connector on one. It's got that on the end, but it connects to an old 2-pin plug. So some places you need those. I do have a bag of electrics, but you don't need this. This is also a service pitch as well, so we have a water inlet here, and then we go around, and our grey waste pipe is coming through into this tray. So aircon unit is down the bottom, alcohol down the bottom of that, with a cistern thing in it, coming on the blue hose pipe, around along and in. Already emptied the toilet cassette, now I just need to fill up that watering can with pink. And so, coming up in the next episode, we find Juliet's balcony, as in Romeo and Juliet, and I have no idea what the obsession is with this tit. So stay tuned. Please like, subscribe, hit the little bell, and we'll see you on the next bit.